Have you ever wondered, at this age, is it normal to still think about that? You don't speak of it. The children avoid it. The doctor doesn't ask. Your partner may no longer be around. And so it just quietly sits within you as though it's not allowed to exist. But here's the truth: desire doesn't retire with age. It simply changes how it expresses itself. Softer, slower, more quietly, but it never disappears. When was the last time you felt your body's needs but chose to ignore them? At elderly care centers across the U.S., doctors are starting to address this openly. They recognize that when older adults shy away from their own needs, they're slowly extinguishing a part of their vitality. And sometimes masturbation, something many think is strange or unnecessary at this stage, is actually the healthiest, most private, and safest way for the body to release tension, relax, and just be itself. In this video, we're going to gently but directly explore 5 truths about masturbation in old age. It's not bad, it's not shameful, and no one should quietly endure the feeling of being strange simply because they still experience desire. If you've ever felt hesitant, found it difficult to talk about, or kept it a secret, stay with me until the end of this video. What you're about to hear may help liberate a part of you that society often pretends doesn't exist. If this video resonates with you even a little, please stay with us, like, and subscribe to the channel. And if you feel this is something worth sharing, even if only as a whisper, go ahead and share this video. Not everyone dares to address this topic, but I'm here to help you feel that you're not strange and you're not wrong. Yes, the need for intimacy in older age still exists. It just changes depending on health and emotional well-being. It's often assumed that as we age, sexual desire naturally fades away, that after 60 or 70, desire becomes a thing of the past, something only the young experience. But this is a big and painful misunderstanding. Desire doesn't run on a clock. It doesn't disappear because of gray hair or the loss of a partner. It simply evolves. You may not crave passion the way you did in your 20s, but the need for closeness, for touch, for emotional and physical fulfillment still remains. It just becomes softer, deeper, and sometimes harder to express. Dr. Eric, a specialist in elderly health in Virginia, once shared a story about his 78-year-old patient, Richard. Richard lived alone after his wife passed away 6 years ago, and his health was generally stable. During a routine checkup, Richard quietly admitted, "Is it wrong that I still think about that? I can't talk to anyone about it because I'm afraid they'll think I'm strange." Dr. Eric smiled gently and said, "There's nothing wrong, Richard. It just means you're still alive and you still have feelings." Indeed, research from the National Institute on Aging confirms that many people over 70 still have sexual desire, but most feel embarrassed because they don't know who to talk to. Some think they're abnormal. Some silently endure the disconnection, even though deep down they still long for closeness. Sexual desire in older age isn't just physical. It's about memories, affection, and the yearning for the intimacy they once had. And when physical health changes, that desire might shift to a need for emotional closeness, holding hands, cuddling, or simply being with someone who makes them feel seen and valued. You're not wrong, you're not broken, you're not foolish. You're simply living authentically, and your body is still whispering, "I'm still here." Many people, to hear that whisper more clearly, choose solitude. No one shares, no one encourages, but no one should feel ashamed of that either. Masturbation in older adults is a natural and safe way to meet physiological needs. When a partner is no longer present or has become frail, many older individuals may distance themselves from their own desires, gradually getting used to forgetting their most basic needs. But the body doesn't forget. It still occasionally sends signals, quietly but unmistakably. At this stage in life, masturbation can be the most natural, healthiest, and safest way for the body to relieve itself. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not childish, nor a sign of pathology. It's simply a form of self-care. A study in the United States found that more than 4 in 10 people over the age of 65 still masturbate regularly, not due to loneliness, but as a way of staying connected to their bodies. In modern nursing homes, healthcare staff are even trained not to intervene when residents seek privacy for this, unless it impacts their health. Take Mr. Harold, 74, from a nursing home in Colorado. He shared in a private consultation. "My wife passed away 10 years ago. I don't need anyone to replace her, but sometimes my body still needs to exhale a little. I used to feel ashamed, but after my doctor told me straight, 'Harold, that's a biological need, not a bad thing,' I felt so much lighter." Masturbation, when done correctly in a private and comfortable setting, helps the body release positive hormones, relax the nervous system, and reduce stress. It's also a way to stay connected to oneself, especially during a phase of life when many people can feel increasingly disconnected from the world. The most important thing is, you don't need anyone's permission to take care of yourself in this way. What matters is this: if you still have sensations and desires, it means your body is still alive, and that is something to be celebrated. Few people realize that these private actions, when done regularly and appropriately, can greatly benefit both our emotional and physical well-being. Moderate masturbation can support heart health, improve sleep, and reduce stress. When most people think about masturbation, they usually see it as a way to relieve desire. But for older adults, the benefits go much deeper, if done correctly and in moderation. Did you know that when you reach orgasm, your body releases a range of natural hormones like dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins, substances that help reduce pain, calm nerves, and especially soothe the cardiovascular system? A study from the University of Michigan found that older adults who maintain natural sexual activity, even on their own, have more stable blood pressure, better sleep, and a more positive mood. Take Sandra, a 69-year-old woman from New Mexico, for example. She had struggled with chronic insomnia for years and had tried everything: medication, herbal teas, you name it. Then, during a group therapy session, her doctor gently suggested, "Have you ever tried letting your body relax in its own way?" She didn't respond right away, but a few weeks later, she came back and said, "I feel less stressed and I sleep better. It's all because I learned not to feel guilty." For older adults, getting quality sleep, especially deep sleep, is incredibly important. Just one good night of rest can lower blood pressure, stabilize blood sugar, and even improve memory. So if a few minutes of quiet, private time helps you relax, breathe easier, or sleep better, that's something to cherish, not something to feel ashamed of. The key is moderation and listening to your own body. Don't force it, don't become addicted, and don't fall into old habits from your younger years. It's about when you feel the need and when it becomes a way to reconnect with that sense of being alive. You don't need anyone's validation for that. As long as it makes you feel lighter, helps you breathe easier, or sleep better, that's enough. Sometimes to calm your mind, you don't need anyone's encouragement. You just need to be alone without feeling like you're doing something wrong. In a stage of life where stress, loneliness, and insecurity can often take a silent toll on you, reconnecting with a sense of relaxation, even just a little, is a powerful act of self-love. If this information resonates with you, please comment with the number 3 below to let me know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to follow the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Your support helps us keep creating valuable and inspiring content. But remember, it's not always like this. Just like eating or sleeping, when it exceeds your limits or becomes a reflex you can't control, it's no longer about self-care. Therefore, masturbation can sometimes be a sign that requires attention to mental or cognitive health. Masturbation isn't always a straightforward indicator of good health. It's not the act itself that's the concern, but sometimes the repetition, frequency, and context can reveal something deeper, something the person may not fully understand or be able to express. For older adults, especially those who live alone, masturbation can sometimes serve as a substitute for the emotional connection that may be missing. And if it becomes excessive, doesn't bring the usual sense of relief, and instead leaves a person feeling empty, fatigued, or even ashamed afterward, that can be a sign that something else might be at play. Psychologists have noted that such behaviors are often tied to prolonged loneliness, early-stage memory decline, or even anxiety or depression, feelings that may be difficult to put into words. Take Daniel, 81, from California. His family brought him to a psychiatrist after he repeatedly engaged in self-stimulation, even in front of his grandchildren. It was discovered that Daniel was in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease, losing his ability to understand time and space and struggling with impulse control. Unfortunately, this isn't an isolated story, and it doesn't make anyone bad. It's simply a reminder that sometimes the body acts out when the mind is becoming unstable. If you or a loved one find themselves becoming dependent on this behavior to feel okay, or if it starts to spill into public settings, no longer brings pleasure and feels out of control, that's a sign that it's time to gently seek professional help. The goal isn't to stop the desire, but to understand the deeper causes behind the behavior. Because sexual health, just like physical health, needs to be listened to, cared for, and addressed at the right time. The need is real. The feelings are still there, but sometimes the words to express them get lost. Not because there's a lack of words, but because a lifetime of silence can make it hard to speak up. Now's the time to relearn how to talk openly and kindly about our sexual needs as we age. As we get older, conversations about sexuality tend to fade away, like it's something we're supposed to leave behind with our youth. No one brings it up, and we don't feel brave enough to say anything either. Over time, silence starts to feel like the polite thing to do. So we keep quiet. We tuck those needs away, let them sit quietly inside us, sometimes leaving us feeling deeply alone in our own bodies. But aging doesn't mean we stop needing connection, closeness, or the comfort of another person's touch, and being able to express those needs. That's not being selfish, it's self-care. The question is, how do we talk about it? With whom? And where do we even begin? It can be as simple as asking your doctor, "At my age, are there things I should know about sexual health or intimacy?" That's a perfectly respectful, normal, and important conversation to have. You might start even smaller. "Lately, I've been missing the feeling of being hugged while I sleep." Or, "I just want to hold someone's hand for a little longer." Not for any reason, just because it feels good to still need and be needed. If you're living alone, consider opening up to a therapist or a trusted friend. Not to shock or overshare, but to let go of the idea that these feelings are something to hide. Sometimes just saying it out loud helps you feel like you're not wrong for wanting what you want. At a recent seminar, 70-year-old Julia from Seattle said, "I used to think sexual needs in old age were something to be embarrassed about. But I've realized it's not just about sex. It's the feeling that I'm still alive, that I still have something warm to look forward to." And she's right. When you have the courage to speak your needs, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping others feel less alone too. You're making space for more honest, more human conversations about a part of life that never stops being meaningful. Maybe you've been quiet for a long time. No one asked, and you didn't bring it up. So you kept it to yourself, tucked away in your thoughts, in sleepless nights, in a kind of silence that no one else could quite see. But if you still feel, still get confused, still long for something more, that means you're still alive. And that part of you deserves to be seen, cared for, and respected. Growing older doesn't mean you stop being loved. It doesn't mean touch stops mattering. It doesn't mean you have to disconnect from your body, your emotions, or that quiet, burning hunger for life. Masturbation isn't wrong. Desire isn't weird, and talking about it, there's no shame in that. What is dangerous is silence, because the longer we stay silent, the more shame creeps in. And the more human something is, the more taboo it starts to feel. You don't have to share your story with the whole world. Just start with one sentence, to your doctor, to a trusted friend, or even to your own reflection in the mirror. This is a natural part of who I am. And if something in this video echoes something you've been holding in, something you've never said out loud, maybe now's the time to let it out, because the story you've been hiding might be the exact story someone else needs to hear. If this kind of honest, gentle conversation speaks to you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, Because sometimes just hearing someone put words to the thing you couldn't say, that's enough to bring peace to your heart and give you permission to live your truth. Thank you for sticking with me all the way to the end. I'll see you next time for another conversation that's just as real, just as close, and just as human.